Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today doing a Lunalight deck profile. So I'm really excited to do some for you guys because this deck is an amazing deck to be able to OTK your opponent with because it summons out awesome boss monsters like Leo Dancer. So without further ado, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of Notification Squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards. Linking your name, description, every single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month to your Patreon. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're playing a single copy of Lunalight Tiger. Unfortunately, this card is still at 1, but it's an amazing soft once per turn monster reborn when it's in the pendulum scale, which is an amazing effect to be able to use because once per turn, you can target a Lunalight monster in your graveyard and special summon it, but it cannot attack and negate its effects, also destroy it during the end phase, but it's an amazing card to be able to bounce back to your hand and reactivate it so you can use its effect all over again since it is a soft once per turn in the pendulum scale. We then play a single copy of Lunalight Wolf. Lunalight Wolf is a great 1-of in the build because this card is basically a miracle fusion to help you fusion summon into all sorts of awesome boss monsters by banishing materials from your field or your graveyard, which is such a cool effect. We then play 3 copies of Kaleido Chick. Kaleido Chick is one of the most powerful cards in the entire build, because this card has the effect that once per turn, you can send a Lunalight monster from your deck or extract to the graveyard, and the name of this face-up card on the field is treated as the sent monsters if used as a fusion material this turn, which is a great ability to be able to send your copy of Panther Dancer from your extract to the graveyard to treat this card as Panther Dancer so you can go in for your copy of Leo Dancer. I love this card as a 3-of in the build, and it's one of the most powerful cards in the entire deck. We then play 2 copies of Yellow Marten. Yellow Marten is a great 2-of in the build to help you bounce your copy of Tiger back to your hand, because this card has the ability, if this card's in your hand or grave, you can actually target a Lunalight card that you control, accept a copy of Yellow Marten, return it back to the hand, and if you do, special summon this card in defense position, but banish this card when it leaves the field. And if this card is sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you can add a Lunalight spell or trap from your deck to your hand, which is easy to get this card into the graveyard by just XZ summoning using this card on your side of the field and detaching it as a material, which is a great effect. This card is definitely a 2 on the build to work with your copy of Tiger, so you can bounce Tiger back to hand and then reactivate it so you can use it as a monster reborn all over again. We then play 2 copies of Emerald Bird. Emerald Bird is great as a 2-of in the build, and I love this card in the deck, but I feel like 2 is all you need. It has the ability, if it's normal or special summon, you can send a Lunalight card from your hand to the graveyard, and if you do, draw a card. And if this card is sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you can actually target one of your level 4 or lower Lunalight monsters that's banished or in the graveyard, except a copy of Emerald Bird, and special summon it in defense position, but negate its effects, which is a really cool ability. We then play 2 copies of Black Sheep. Black Sheep is really cool because this card can actually grab you a copy of Polymerization, which is why I play this card as a 2-of in the build to be able to get to Polymerization so I can go in for a bunch of cool fusion plays. We then play a single copy of Crimson Fox. Crimson Fox is a really cool 1-of in the deck because if this card is sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you can target a face-up monster your opponent controls and reduce that monster's attack points to 0 until the end of the turn, which is a great ability to use this card, especially to help you OTK your opponent, which is why I really like playing this card as a 1-of in the build. We then play a single copy of Zaphros the Elite. Zaphros the Elite is really good in the deck to help you bounce your copy of Tiger back to hand, special summon this card from the graveyard to your side of the field, and inflict 400 points of damage to yourself, which is a little bit of a downside to actually take that 400 points of damage, but it's not that big of a deal to get a monster back on your side of the field, and also bounce that copy of Tiger back to hand so you can activate it all over again. We then play a single copy of Tearlament Sharon. Tearlament Sharon is a great extender in the deck because during your main phase, you can actually special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, send a monster from your hand to the graveyard, then send the top 3 cards of your deck to the graveyard, which is going to help you get Lunalight monsters in the graveyard so you can bring them back from the grave off your copy of Tiger, which is really good, while also getting a level 4 monster on your side of the field to make XZ plays. We then play 3 copies of Ash Blossom. Ash Blossom is just a fantastic hand trap to basically just stop your opponent from touching the deck. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get in to the spells. So for the spells, we're going to start with a single copy of Foolish Burial. Foolish Burial is really good as a 1-of in the build to get the exact card you need in the graveyard. We then play a single copy of Called by the Grave. Called by the Grave is really good as a 1-of just to stop your opponent from hand trapping you while you're going in for all of your plays. We then play a single copy of Lunalight Fusion. Lunalight Fusion is definitely a 1-of in the build because you only need a single copy of this card because it is searchable, and it has the ability to let you fusion summon a Lunalight Fusion monster from your X deck using monsters from your hand or field as fusion material. But if your opponent controls a monster that was special summoned from the X deck, you can also use one Lunalight monster in your deck or your X deck as fusion material, which is a great ability, especially when you're trying to summon out your copy of Leo Dancer, because you can use your Panther Dancer that's in the X deck to be able to summon it out, which is a great ability. We then play a single copy of Polymerization. Polymerization is great as a 1-of in the build just to be able to fusion summon out all sorts of awesome cards, plus this card works with your copy of Black Sheep because Black Sheep will search this card from the deck. We then play 3 copies of Foolish Burial Goods. Goods is good in this deck because it helps you send your copy of Lunalight Perfume from your deck to the graveyard. It's just an overall fantastic card in the deck. We then play 3 copies of Lunalight Perfume. Perfume is great as a 3-of because this card has the ability to let you target a Lunalight monster in the graveyard and special summon it, but you can banish this card from the graveyard, discard a card, and add a Lunalight monster from your deck to your hand, essentially making your copy of Foolish Burial Goods like a Rhoda for the deck, which is really cool. We then play 3 copies of Super Polymerization. Super Poly is great as a 3-of in the build to basically use this card to break your opponent's board. I love this card as a 3-of in the build, and it helps out so much in the deck to break the opponent's board to help us go in for game. We then play 3 copies of Forbidden Droplets. This is an OTK deck, so Droplets works really well in this build to basically half our opponent's monsters' attack points, but also break the opponent's board. Plus, we can bring back the monsters back from the graveyard off of Tiger's ability, which is really cool. So this card is definitely a 3-of in the build. We then play 3 copies of Tenki. Tenki is really good because we can search out Beast Warriors from our deck to our hands. So we have a lot of different targets in the deck we can actually search for this card. So this card is definitely a 3-of in the build. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get in to the traps. So for the traps, we're going to start with a single copy of Serenade Dance. Serenade Dance is really good for its graveyard effect, that during your main phase, you can banish this card from the graveyard to send a card from your hand to the graveyard, and if you do, special summon a Lunalight monster from the deck, which is a great ability to instantly get a monster out on your side of the field, making this a really good Foolish Burial Goods target. We then play 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. Infinite Impermanence is great to negate your opponent's monster effects and also lock down entire columns of spells and traps, making this card a fantastic 3-of in the build. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get in to the extra deck. So for the extra deck, guys, we're going to start off with 2 copies of Leo Dancer. Leo Dancer is so easy to summon in this build, and it's just an amazing boss monster to be able to make because it comes out at 3,500 attack points. It does require a copy of Panther Dancer plus 2 Lunalight monsters to make this card, but it is well worth it to be able to fusion summon this card out to your side of the field. It cannot be targeted or destroyed by your opponent's card effects, and this card can make a second attack during each battle phase, and once returned, at the end of the damage step, if this card attacked a monster, you can destroy all special summon monsters your opponent controls, which essentially board wipes their monsters, so you can swing it again for more damage. This card is great as a 2-of in the build, and is our main boss monster of the deck. We then play 2 copies of Panther Dancer. Panther Dancer works really well with a bunch of cards in the deck, especially your copy of Kaleido Chick, to basically send this card from the X deck to the graveyard, so you can make your copy of Leo Dancer. This card is a really good stepping stone to be able to step into your copy of Leo Dancer, which is why I play this card as a 2-of in the build. We then play a single copy of Cat Dancer. I feel like you only need a single copy of this card. It does require 2 Lunalight monsters to be able to make this card, so it's fairly easy to summon out, but it has a really cool ability that once per turn, during your main phase, you can actually tribute one other Lunalight monster, and for the rest of the turn, the first time each monster your opponent controls would be destroyed by battle, it is not destroyed. Also, this card can attack all monsters that your opponent controls twice each, and this turn, if this card declares an attack, inflicts 100 points of damage to your opponent, which is a pretty cool ability to use this card. We then play a single copy of Saber Dancer. Saber Dancer is good as a 1-of in the build, and I really like this card in the deck just as a 1-of. It does require 3 Lunalight monsters to make this card, but it has a pretty cool effect that it must be fusion summoned and it gains 200 attack for each Beast Warrior monster that's banished or in your graveyard. And also, your opponent cannot target this card with card effects, and during your main phase, except the turn this card was sent to the graveyard, you can banish this card from the graveyard and target a fusion monster you control, and it gains 3,000 attack until the end of the turn, which can boost your copy of your Leo Dancer all the way up to 6,500, which is insane to be able to OTK your opponent with. We then play a single copy of Guardian Chimera. We do play Polymerization in the deck, so this card is a great option to be able to make, because you can either pop 2 and draw a card, or draw 2 and pop a card, which is great to be able to use with this card. And plus, Guardian Chimera is one of my favorite fusion monsters ever created. We then play a single copy of Garua, just as an amazing super poly target, alongside our copy of Mud Dragon. These cards are really good in the deck to be able to make with your copy of Super Polymerization. We then play a single copy of Brotherhood of the Fire Fist Tiger King. Tiger King is great because it helps you get your copy of Tenki, which is going to help you get more searches. So this card is great as a 1-of in the build. Play a single copy of Baguska. Baguska is just a good option, just in case you go first. You can make your copy of Baguska, slow down the game until you can OTK on the follow-up. We then play a single copy of Number 60. Number 60 is insane to double the attack of a monster, let you draw 2 and discard a card, or bring back a monster from the graveyard. Doubling the attack of a monster is insane, especially with cards like Leo Dancer, so this card is definitely a 1-of in the build. We then play a single copy of Raiders Knight. Raiders Knight is in the deck so we can basically summon out our copy of Arc Rebellion. Arc Rebellion is a really good OTK piece in the build, because all you have to do is summon out your copy of Raiders Knight, detach a material, summon out Arc Rebellion, and then Arc Rebellion is going to OTK your opponent because it has an insane ability to basically gain the attack points of the monsters on the field, and it's the only monster that can attack, and it just swings in for a bunch of damage to win the game. We then play a single copy of Double A Zeus. Double A Zeus is just really good to board wipe the field, making it a fantastic 1-of in the deck. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you enjoyed. This deck is super fun to be able to play. If you guys have never played Lunalight before, you should definitely give this deck a try, because it's really fun to be able to make your copy of Leo Dancer and just OTK the opponent. And it's really easy to pull off as well, which is amazing, but I absolutely love Lunalight because of how cool this deck is. So that's gonna do it for this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.